Hello everyone, welcome to the Community Weekly, where we're gonna present the improvement that we've worked on for the last 2-3 weeks because there was a break this summer. We're gonna wait 1 minute or two to leave time for people to join, but also we're on YouTube, and so after the video, the live will be shared, and you will be able to see everything on the playback on YouTube directly. Before we start, what we can do is everyone is going to present a brief description of what they're going to present, so like a kind of a teaser, so a 30-second teaser, and then we'll start for real. Hugo, do you want to talk briefly about what you're going to talk about?
Yeah, so what I worked on is adding agent steps to the workflow builder. So now you can basically simply add it's like a new step kind, which is called AI agent. And you can set the parameters, define some tools, the prompts, and so on, and it will automatically call the right tools based on the user input, and then return the result and stuff. So I'm happy to show this after. Farhad?
Yeah, so yeah, on my side, I've been working on the AI chat. One thing is I added an API mode, so you can call the API from the chat, and I mainly worked on improving the flow mode. So yeah, I'll show you. Diego, if you want to go.
Yeah, I'll talk about more fine-grained permissions with the S3 API and the S3 proxy I've been working on, and some convenience for Ducklake. Yeah.
On my side, I have native Kubernetes autoscaling and relative line number toggler in Monaco editor. Dieriba?
And for me, I'm going to speak about conditional retry in workflow. So now you can do retry in workflow, and also a new kind of dynamic function scripts and flows, like a dynamic selects, but for multi-selects. And I think it's okay.
Great, then let's start right away. Hugo, would you like to start?
Yeah, I'll just share my screen. All right. Okay, cool. So yeah, basically, as I was saying, I've added a new step kind, which is called AI agent, which you can see here. It takes a few parameters. We try to make it like as straightforward as possible, so you can get started quite quickly. So you just specify your provider, you select your resource, your model, and then the only required parameter then is the user message. So let's say, hey, what's the weather in Paris? You can, of course, also specify a system prompt and temperature and max completion tokens, but these are not necessary. And then here you have this new button, which is to add tools. So this can be any Windmill language supported script, but it can also be like workscript script or a script from the hub. And then once you create it, you just have to specify a tool name. This is important for the LLM to know what to call. You can customize it. So here, let's say it's a fake weather tool. And then automatically the system will see what parameters it take and then pass the schema to the LLMs to make this work. So let's test this. So you can, like for any other step, you can easily test it here. But also you have like a better view if you test the whole flow, where you can see like every tool calls appearing here. So if get weather was called multiple times, you would see it like multiple times, and then you can check like the detail of each job. And as the result, you have like the content of the last message, but you also have like all messages. So you can see my message, the tool call by the LLM, the tool response, which is the result of a job, of a Windmill job, and then the final response. And in addition to this, we also made like another view here, which is like we reuse the new view of the logs. I don't know if it was presented yet, but this was reworked, and we reused it for the AI agent. And here you can see like each tool call, the logs, and then the result, and then also the message output from the LLM. So like sometimes it's possible that you have multiple tool calls, tool results, and messages in between. So yeah, that's the goal of this, is to make it easier to understand. So yeah, that's about it. We have like a few ideas of how to improve this. First, that you can specify like a JSON schema, so the output is structured. Also to support streaming, so that you can directly connect this flow to like a client in a front end, and then automatically stream the tokens and basically build a chat like with a few clicks. And finally, also to have like memory built in, so you can easily track conversations and stuff. So yeah, exciting stuff coming. Looking forward to present it. Farhad, you go next. Oh, sorry, Ruben, if you wanted to say anything.
No, I think if you're familiar with NA10, this is very similar to what NA10 is providing, and so we think actually with the level that Windmill is at is going to be able to be more powerful than what NA10 is providing. Right now, it's a bit early to say it's better, but we're going to get there. So we do have customers that are in a situation where they are using both Windmill and NA10. And it's mostly for the AI agent step. And we think that once we're done with this, there will be no reason to have both, at least for that part of the product. So it's very exciting. I think a very cool use case is just to be able to say, well, use any other script or any other flow as a tool, and being able to write directly the code is something that just works very, very well with the way Windmill works. So it feels very natural with the way it's integrated. So it's a looks like a small change, but it's actually there's a lot of power underneath. So yeah, Farhad, if you want to go next.
Yeah, I can go. You see my screen?
We can see Discord. Yeah, it's good.
So yeah, the first thing I want to show you is now you have an API mode in the AI chat. You can ask it to manage your resources, variables, and schedules. So let me show you an example. For example, you can ask it to schedule a script. So here I will ask it to run every 5 seconds. So it's searching for the relevant script. So it found the admin reminder script. Show you the result. Fetches the details. So for example, if your scripts have specific arguments, it has to know which arguments it has to send. And then it will show you what body it will send to the API. So you can confirm or reject. So here I will confirm. And here, as you can see, it created the schedule. So let's check. So here you have it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I improved the flow mode. So let me show you. Oh yeah, other thing I can show you is now when you ask the AI chat to make changes to a script or a flow, it will automatically test it and iterate on it if it's not what you asked for. So here, for example, it will test the script and it can see it works, so it will confirm it's what was expected. So that's the second thing. And yeah, third thing is the flow mode. In the flow mode, there are many improvements. First thing is now you can add context in the flow mode like in the script mode. So you have access to databases, you have access to the diff from what is deployed. And also you can specify specific modules. So let's test with the database, for example. I can ask it that. It will retrieve the schema of the database. In this case, it already has it, I think. So you can see it here. And it will write what's the good SQL script based on the schema of the database. Let's test it. And here you can see it works. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is now it has access to advanced options. So mainly the skip options and the early stop. So let's also test that. I have prepared the prompt so it's easier to show. So here I ask it to skip the second step if the input is 1. So pretty specific request, but it's just to show you. A little bit of time, but almost done. So here, yeah, you can see it added the expression to skip this step based on what you asked. So it allows you to do more advanced stuff from the AI chat. And yeah, I think that's it for me. So yeah, mainly improvements on the flow mode and the API mode. Oh yeah, also take note that what you can do from the API mode is also available from the MCP. So that's all the tools you have access to now. So as I told you, it's resources, variables, and also schedules. And yeah, I think that's it for me. Diego, if you want to go next.
Yep. Let me share my screen. It's not. Wait. Something's going on. Okay, let's just do that. Yeah, so as you know, Ducklake went live a few weeks ago. So I won't do the full refresh on that, but what I've added is just the possibility to create an instance catalog out of the box. So you just have to have workspace storage ready, and yeah, just put in your data path. You can name your database instance, and it will propose to create the database directly into the Windmill Postgres instance. So yeah, pretty cool. And just like that, you have a Ducklake working. So really, really fast. But yeah, the main thing I want to talk about is the work I've been doing on the S3 proxy. So basically, before, when you had workspace storage, everybody could access everything in your storage. There was no fine-grained permission on the file level, and for DuckDB you had to enable this, which basically shares the credentials with everybody. So with what I've done, you don't have to do that anymore. You can keep the credentials a secret, and you can have more fine-grained restrictions. For example, here I will switch my screen. Wait a second. Yeah, so there we go. So this is another user. This is Guess. Guess can actually access everything. He can access this file. But if I enable the restriction, he can no longer read that. But he can read only what is in his folder. And what's more interesting is that you can do the same in Ducklake. So in Ducklake, this will yield an error now. But if I try to read that, it should work. Oh, yeah, it works. And this is because I made a whole S3 proxy. So this actually behaves like a S3 server with the AWS authentication, and you can actually connect with both a free to the Windmill proxy, and it works. And you have fine-grained permissions too. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I
So
don't remember. Yeah.
So to give you a bit of context, so prior to this, the only way to interact with the workspace storage was to use a Python or TypeScript SDK with like load S3 file or read S3 stream. And it had one very big benefit is that it would allow you to basically have a workspace global S3 storage shared with everyone without sharing the credentials. And sharing the credentials would be kind of feel a bit sensitive, and as an organization you wouldn't want to do that. So the only way was to use the SDK. The issue is that the SDK is of course much more limited than what the plethora of clients that there exists for S3. So now that we're doing an S3 proxy, we can you can get the same benefits which is you can expose the storage without exposing the credentials, but you can now use any client, and instead of now using the SDK to read and write, you could just use any library that can normally read and write to S3. And of course, now it's what we're doing with DuckDB, where it's now using the proxy directly. It will also allow us in a second stage to have permission that match the one that you have in Windmill. So Diego mentioned the user space, but we will do the same with respect to folders. So if you have access to a folder in Windmill, you will have access to that same folder in the S3 storage and so on. So it's a lot more powerful. It will allow a lot more flexibility. And it also make it a lot easier to understand because you don't have to understand our SDK. You just have to understand how S3 work, and the proxy is transparent. So yeah, it's a big change as well. So congrats. And maybe Dieriba, you want to finish?
I think Ash can go first before me.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. I hope you can see my screen. I think you do. So the first change I'm been working on is a really simple one. It's just relative line number toggler in the Monaco editor, which you can toggle, and as you can see on the left, the numbers are just relative. It's small feature. It's pretty useful for users of the V mode because you can like jump straight to the line number relative to your current position. And yeah, you can also mix and match these two modes, V mode and relative line number modes. This is one small feature. The another one I've been working on it and already is released is for enterprise users. It's a native Kubernetes native autoscaling. If you go to the worker settings to the autoscaling here, enable it, and you select the Kubernetes here, the enum Kubernetes over here, and apply changes, then you could use Kubernetes native autoscaling instead of the custom script which you would usually use. It's a bit like it's generally more secure, easier to set up. You don't have to do anything. You basically all you do is select this, then check health. It by default it would fail, but if you go to the documentation, all you would need to do is just enable one flag in your Helm chart of values.yaml, and then upgrade your Helm release, and then check health, and that it would work most of the cases. And yeah, I mean, I can set the workers to demonstrate it. So for now we have two of them. I just set 4, and in 30 seconds it should scale up to 4 or something like that. It is fully automated. You don't have to select, you don't have to specify worker group. You don't have to specify kube config nor namespace for the Windmill release on your Helm. In your Kubernetes cluster. It's really nice and convenient feature, and it just makes everything more simple and more secure. I think that would be it for me. Dieriba?
Okay, it's okay. Okay. But I have some issue. I will only be able to show Windmill for dynamic multi-select. There's some issue for the. I have some issue. Okay. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait. My computer is a bit laggy.
Maybe while it's loading, you can explain the one you're not going to show.
The one I'm going to show is before it's like a pretty neat for the UI for script and flows where you could export a dynamic select function, so you could dynamically have like a select input you can choose. So now you can do the same, but this time you could have it as a multi-select in the UI. So you could retrieve like an array of dynamic input, whereas before you could only take one input. So though you could have it as an array. So I'm just going to show. Okay.
What is the other feature you want to show? I think
The other feature that I wanted to show is why for flow, which allows to retrieve flow, but conditionally. Before you could only retrieve flow without the condition of the steps. But now for steps, if some result were to need a retry, you could retry the flow for that specific steps. But I will only be able to show the features for Windmill Dynamic Select as the
I
other
think
one.
for the dynamic select is less. It's very explainable, right? You just work with multi-select. The
Yes.
dynamic retry is pretty cool because it allows you to have some logic in the body of the inline script or of the script. This is where you can basically decide or not if you want to retry. And then you basically just in the expression, in the dynamic expression of the retry, you just say trust this field to say if you need to retry or not. So you can delegate a lot more of the logic inside the script that has failed. Yeah. I think that's close it. We're gonna publish the video on YouTube, and so if you want to play back anything, that's great. There was a lot of like very powerful features, a lot of them in V0 state, but all of them are gonna get improved over the next few weeks. So stay tuned and have a great weekend.
Bye. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.